But I'm done now. I got very sunburned too. But I got free food a lot of the day, so that was pretty good. But it's long. So I'm going to ramble, say weird things, and not remember stuff. But I got free food a lot.
Seems like the perfect opportunity to take advantage of this.
It is, yeah. If you want to try to sneak something past me, that's the time. I mean, it doesn't stop me from killing you later for it, but...
All 18s, yet it's still somehow added up to under the number that you said. Math is hard.
Yeah, dude, that totally makes sense. 1 plus 8 plus 1 plus 8 plus 1.
1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1.
And that would still be 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, I should turn on my Twitch so I can earn my silver.
Weird.
Money.
My name isn't updating in the chat. Maybe,
Dun, dun. Free loot? There's a free loot button? Ah, Fortnite loot.
Free loot? I want free loot.
Apparently there's Fortnite loot that you can get.
I don't play Fortnite.
Guess that's a shame. I got my Heroes of the Storm loot. It gave me 5 chests. Made me spend all my gold.
did you get any heroes?
I did not.
Oh.
I cannot get a hero to save my life. It just doesn't happen.
You've got to have enough to buy one. Like, somehow.
Oh, no, I mean, I've got a handful of heroes to play, but I'm trying to save up for the ones I actually want. And they're all like 10 million gold. And I'm like, that's a long way away. But that's okay.
All right. Is everyone here and ready to go?
I believe so, yes.
Okie dokie.
Define ready to go, but yes.
Well, you don't really need much to be ready to go. You just need to be here and willing to devote at least a few seconds of attention. So...
For you,
Well, then... I would normally say something... Pretend I said something funny and witty right there. Like I normally would, but I'm not... Kyle, you're the best.
You're welcome.
So we are going to talk about characters for Out of the Abyss. Out of the Abyss is an adventure where you begin captured by Drow and then discover through the course of attempting to escape that the Underdark is not as it should be, which is saying something because the Underdark is normally pretty messed up. And to sort of get us in the mood, I'm going to read us the opening blurb. Okay, this is all stuff I will repeat it when we start the game, but I'm going to read it now to set the mood. Captured by the Drow, you wouldn't wish this fate upon anyone. Yet here you are, locked in a dark cave, the cold, heavy weight of metal tight around your throat and wrists. You're not alone. Other prisoners are trapped in here with you, in an underground outpost far from the light of the sun. Your captors include a cruel drow priestess who calls herself Mistress Ilvara of House Mizram. Over the past several days, you've met her several times, robed in silken garments and flanked by 2 male drow, one of whom has a massive scars along one side of his face and neck. Mistress Ilvara likes to impress her will with scourge in hand and remind you that your life now belongs to her. Accept your fate, learn to obey, and you may survive. Her words echo in your memory, even as you plot your escape. That is where we will begin. You are all prisoners, having been captured by the Drow in various scenarios, which we will discuss. And you are attempting to escape from a Drow outpost that goes by the name of Velkenvelv. So, your characters can be familiar with the Underdark or complete novices to the Underdark. The Underdark is a bizarre place that not many people will have visited. So either is acceptable. I had one character who was human and didn't speak Undercommon or had never been to the Underdark before, and he managed to get through just fine. Well, I say just fine. He managed to get through. We'll say that.
Air quotes when you said just fine.
I mean, they just did a one-shot to save his soul from the abyss. So let that inform your decision about how just fine he was. He got out, though. That's what I'm going to say. It was the going back in that kind of messed him up. But, so, that is what we are here to do today, is create characters. I know some of you have concepts. Some of you may not. That's fine. We can discuss all of that. Casey, I know you have a concept.
I do have a concept.
And what might that concept be?
So, my concept is Spiroket Wilberforth, and a gnome, by birth, I suppose, a profession, a tinkerer, but at heart, a dragon slayer.
Dragon Slayer, interesting.
Yes, now, my parents didn't take to my profession. They kept insisting that there were no dragons about, and that if there were, I would be eaten. Obviously, I made a few dragons, practiced upon them, and found myself to be quite good at dispatching my own creations.
How Quixote of you.
Well, yes.
I see. And what brought you into the Underdark, or near enough that you then got brought to the Underdark?
Well, dragons, as you may know, live in caves.
They do.
Caves
That is so true.
can extend for some ways.
They can.
While searching for a dragon's hoard, I came upon a hoard of a different sort, I suppose.
Dragons?
They could be dragons.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Or perhaps just drow in drag.
Most drow are in drag, if I'm being honest with you, so that's not really that out of the ordinary. But, okay. Okay.
Drug in and dragged on.
Yes. Yeah. All right. I like that. That's good. Does anyone else have mechanically, what are we talking about? See? Just so people have an idea for their characters.
So mechanically, fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I am currently in the flip coin stage of dexterity versus strength mechanically. I believe he's going to be a knife thrower / whip user. Because
with all these large things about, you need a little distance to get up to the eyes.
I see. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, I will ask a question. Do you have any intentions of taking the Cavalier subclass? I know you may not have an answer to that. If you do have intentions, we will need to have a conversation. Because there are not a lot of horses in the Underdark.
There aren't, but I don't need a horse. I could get by with a dog.
Right. But I'm just saying, we would need to have a conversation about what you might be interested in. Because we have to make some weird things have to happen. So if that is your plan, which is fine if you're not, or if it is, whatever, we will just need to talk about it at some point.
That is not high on the list.
Okay.
More likely like a Battle Master-esque style. Though I did see a jackalope as a mount, and now I really want a jackalope mount.
Okay. Who else has a concept that they are willing to share?
I do.
Okay, Kathy. What do you got?
I have a tiefling ranger urban bounty hunter background.
Okay.
I was planning on going Gloomstalker route,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly, if you allow it, there's the Unearthed Arcana Tunnel Fighter fighting style.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because like he generally focused in cities, so he'd be in like alleyways and
Right.
such. So that made sense in that fashion.
Right.
Not so much knowing about the Underdark.
Mm-hmm.
My concept with him was kind of like giving him a whole bunch of like edgelord tropes on the surface, but like he's actually well adjusted and had a great childhood and a really upstanding guy, like when you get down to it. But he's a tiefling. His mother was a prostitute. He grew up in a brothel, but it was like he was well taken care of. Everyone, like he had siblings, quote unquote, and just everyone was a big family, and he's really happy with his life. He has friends, he does what he does, and he loves his life. And then the Underdark happened, so we'll see where it goes from there. Are we doing like the whole a madness score, or do you do? Because I know that was
there will be madness. Yes. Oh yes.
Oh dear.
Oh yes. Yes. Many of you could go quite mad before the end of this, so look forward to that. Okay.
Can I ask? Can I get some extrapolation on madness, quote unquote, either at the end of our characters or before? I'm not picky, but I would like to hear about that.
Okay. So there is Kyle. I will assume you have access to a Dungeon Master's Guide.
That's fair.
Okay. So there is a mechanic in there called madness. There's short-term madness, medium-term madness, and long-term madness. When you see something either deeply unsettling or particularly demonic in nature, you will be forced to make a save. Generally wisdom. Not always, but generally. If you fail the save, you will gain a madness point, and you will suffer at first from short-term madness. However, as you gain more madness points, your mind will continue to crack, and eventually you might gain a long-term madness. Long-term madness is permanent unless cured through some sort of restorative magic. And they are not things that will kill you. They're not functional deaths for your character. They may be things that in the moment might cripple you, but they will never be things that will make it so that your character is unplayable in the long term. But there are instances where something so horrific might happen where your character just shuts down for a minute and is just like, can't do this, I'm out. Because I don't know if like any you all can see the splash screen. I don't think the Twitch stream can, but you guys can. And the Underdark is rather falling apart a little bit, and things will not be good. So that will take its toll on some of you more than others. But that's as specific as I'd like to be about that right now, Kyle.
Okay.
I'd like to let us all discover it together.
Sounds like a group bonding activity.
Yes, group bonding. I mean, if it's any consolation, it was a group bonding activity I've run this once before, and it was a group bonding activity for them. Some of them even got into drugs together. It was fun for the whole family. So you get that to look forward to. Sin or Kyle? Kyle, I'm suspecting Kyle does not have at all a character concept. Sin, have you thought of any? No offense, Kyle, but just the way you acted, I didn't think you had one.
I have bones.
Bones, okay. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so that's a good choice.
Wow.
So, little Star Trek joke for you there. Sid, please go ahead.
No, actually, I was just going to say, I think Kyle has a little more than I do at this point, because it took me all day going back and forth between Bard and Cleric before I actually defined what I was doing. So go ahead, Kyle.
Kyle, I'm sorry I doubted you.
That's okay. I actually have less in terms of the character itself, but more in terms of mechanically. Okay. All three of the other players here right now tend to think of their characters. They're like I want this character to be like this, and I'm like, what stats do I have? Where am I putting them?
That's fine. That's fine.
I work backwards. So right now, I'm looking at the character concept of a turtle. Something that has obviously not from the Underdark, not even a little bit close at all. I don't even know if there's any Underdark entrances in the turtle vicinity area of their homeland.
They totally are. They're very much
excellent. But I imagine our young turtle being taken into the Underdark at a very young age and being passed along between different groups of slavers, probably as entertainment. A unique being,
yes.
and being passed along. And then this is just, this is the last stop that I've had. Where now we're with matron, whatever the crap,
Mistress Ilvara of House Mizro.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll totally remember that name.
Well,
not like he hasn't had 17 others.
He had better.
Well, he knows the drill. I'm sure this isn't his first drow mistress.
Okay, I like this concept a lot. You will talk about this, but I like this a lot. You might be a bit of a boon for other people, but we'll talk about that. But I enjoyed that concept a lot. So Sin, what do you have?
Give me a second. I'm also going to spit mechanics because they also spit mechanics.
Okay, fair play.
Okay. It's going to be something, and I'll have to talk to you about ridiculous multi-class options, but it's definitely going to be a strength-based martial character, whether that includes some sort of half-casting like Paladin, or if it's a Gish, I don't know, but I just see this concept of I'm pretty good or a little bit above average at a lot of things. So that's, part of his personality and what he's doing.
Okay. All right. I like it. So now, Sin, Kyle has bought you as much time as he could.
He really needs to learn how to talk slower. Really, I really don't have much besides the fact that I really was interested in doing a half-elf drow for my race, and I really was torn between a few different options, but ended up with choosing to do a grave domain for my cleric. This will be the first cleric that I play. I've avoided like the plague because I find religious characters often to be, very one-sided and boring, and I did this for my god, take that. But
Sin, I find that personally offensive.
I was hoping you would.
As the person who's played a cleric and a paladin in the game's channel, yes, I find that personally offensive. Please continue.
It's okay. In your defense, for some reason, you have played them very you've played them very Malik's justice, not your god's justice. So,
Sin,
or at least
you'll go far in this organization if you keep that up. So, good work.
Well, that's just the first of many compliments to not die. But
I mean, it won't work forever, but it'll work out for a little bit.
And that's all I need, really, is to get to be able to, save my peoples that are, probably going to be pretty distrustful of me because of my colorings.
Okay. So it sounds like we've got, just for party composition's sake, we've got some variety of fighter, either dex or strength, but melee, it sounds like. So, or no, not melee. You're a little sort of midline, throwing daggers, whips. Okay. Then we've got a bit of strength beef with Kyle and his turtle. We've got a grave cleric, which is good. Everyone loves a cleric. And then we've got a ranger, which will also be good. So we have to have a pretty balanced party. Rob will sort of be able to do whatever he wants. I mean, you can basically do whatever you want anyway. Like when the first group I read through this had two clerics, but it doesn't matter. So, but we do have a pretty balanced party, which is good.
It'd be horrible to have like two clerics in a party, like 4 people. Like, what if like everybody was a caster?
Imagine that. Imagine the horror if everybody was a caster. Okay, so it sounds like Kyle, at the moment, Kyle is the only one with any experience with the Underdark. So, Kyle, we can talk about that. There are two things in here that you have as sort of default. One of them kind of works. The other one, I'm not so sure about. I'll present both of them to you, and then you can sort of figure them out. But I'll let you know about both of them. So there's Deep Delver. This one I'm not so sure. Basically, actually maybe. You have a knack for making your way in the deep places of the world. You can recall the twists and turns of passageways and tunnels such that you can always retrace your steps underground. You're also well acquainted with foraging and survival in the Underdark and can determine when sources of food and water are safe to consume. You can always find sufficient food and water for yourself and up to 5 other people in the Underdark, as long as such sustenance is available in the area. The other one is Underdark Experience. You're no casual visitor to the Underdark, but instead have spent considerable time there learning its ways. You are familiar with the various races, civilizations, and settlements in the Underdark, as well as its major routes for travel. If you fail an intelligence check to recall some piece of Underdark lore, you know a source that you can consult for the answer, unless I, the DM, rule that the lore is unknown. I think either of those could actually work. We could also homebrew something if you don't like either of them. But things to consider since you're from the Underdark. But beyond that, at this point, I think we just need to nail down sort of mechanical stuff and then figure out how long people have been here, how they were captured. Because that is important to the beginning of the game. And if you have been here longer, there is a chance you will have uncovered something interesting in your stay. So why don't we just start actually making characters? I know some of you who started, but we could finish that. I would recommend maybe not. Well, actually, I would definitely recommend not putting any loot. It's up to you. You're not going to start with loot, obviously, because you're in prison. There is a chance you will get some of it back. Just be ready to delete it if it, because you can also escape with basically nothing. Depends on how well you guys do. So that's a fun little challenge at the beginning. Depending on how good your escape plan is, you might get more stuff. Or if it's really bad, you'll leave with almost nothing.
So if I was down here, does the secret stuff that I know include storage facilities nearby?
Well, you know exactly where the storage... The issue is not knowledge of where your stuff is. The issue is getting. If you come up with a really good escape plan, which some people have, you can get your stuff back. All of it. No problem. But it's hard. You have to be clever and smart. And work together and come up with a good plan. If you do not, you will have to scrounge stuff and then get out while the getting is good.
Noted. Also, you sound really lovely and just you had just a beautiful voice tonight, Sean. Just
all right,
saying.
You're laying on a little thick. All right, tone it back. Yeah.
Dude, it's like Nutella. You gotta lay it on thick.
Speaking of, what?
No, Kyle's right. I can't argue with that.
It goes well with the stress pretzels. I don't know.
Mm.
What other kinds of? So okay. What is it, madness thing?
Madness, yes.
So what other kinds of things is this game going to have that maybe other games we have played have not? Or have? Like the flanking, the inspiration, I don't know, what other things.
Okay. So we will probably not be doing flanking. Unless we decide we really miss it. All of the stuff I'm about to say is subject to change. But this is sort of the default that I think we're going to start with, and if we decide we hate some aspects of it, we will change. So no flanking. I will probably be making rolls for things in secret for NPCs and things like that. we will be seeing probably more survival mechanics, at least at the beginning. As you guys start out, things like arrows and food will be important, because you probably won't have much of it. As you go on and get better at surviving in the Underdark, and eventually get to some civilized places, that may change. I may decide, if you guys have a good plan and you get some food, you get a bunch of food, you separate it all amongst all your friends, that I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Certainly arrows, probably after you get to some place you can get a lot of them. I will generally not track those because I don't care. But at the beginning, all of those things will need to be tracked, because surviving in the Underdark with very little is difficult, and that is part of the challenge. There will also be a lot more travel, and travel mechanics. The Underdark is big and scary and hard to get around, and figuring out how fast you want to go, and like who's leading and where to go, are all going to be things we are going to talk about, because there is no one way. There will be ways NPCs recommend, assuming you get them out. You could leave with no one, in which case that will be different. But assuming you get out with some people, they will all have opinions about where to go, and sort of you guys sussing out where you want to go, where is a priority, where is not a priority, and making that your plan will be something that you're going to have to deal with. So, like for example, I've had people skip whole chapters because they come up with a creative solution around having to deal with something, and I like it, so we just skip a chapter. Yeah, so it will be very much in your hands about where to go, who to trust. There will be your friends are not immune to the madness of the Underdark and the madness of the Abyss that is slowly seeping through it. So figuring out who to trust and what certain people's motives are will also be important.
So is anybody in this group charismatic? Bueller.
Yeah. As of right
Or
now,
sort of, but not terribly.
there's no standout charismatics at the moment.
So what I'm hearing is I should switch from a gnomish fighter to a gnomish bard. No problem.
Whatever makes you talk in that voice a lot.
You guys can play whatever you want. Because to be honest, oh well, I'm not gonna say that.
Oh, speak your mind, Sean.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm all set. Yeah, so dealing with that will be something you'll have to manage. And I look forward to seeing how you try.
Dum 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 dum.
Also, this is like a super minor thing, but Sin, for when you inevitably get spiritual weapon, there's in the notes there's a thing where you can just drag it out, and it'll give you a spiritual weapon you can control.
Ooh.
Fancy. I know it's very fancy. Also, one thing that we have not seen a lot of that I will probably be doing is I am a sucker for the API, and I will probably be using it to some degree. For particularly, that's actually a thing. I know we do it in our other games, but I want to state it. I do like bloodied when they're at half health. I put the little red dot on. And I will not be doing death saves for regular mooks. Named bad guys get death saves. Shitty mooks, unless for some reason they elevate themselves beyond shitty mook, do not get death saves.
I guess that, speaking of elevating, what parts of the... I don't know if you've even had any experience looking at the Silver Store thing for the stream, but like, what parts do you think are broken and would you like to not participate in, or would you like to participate in none of it? Just curious.
As long as Sing a Song is still Sin, Kyle, or Casey, I am fine with all of it.
I was trying, Casey. I was like, oh, I mean, it all seems reasonable. Is that okay? All right. Noted.
One thing I'm a little wary about, not because it bothers me, but just because of the nature of this game, create an NPC might be something that we'll have to be careful about. Simply because there are sometimes you can bring things in pretty easily. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I take everything I just said back. Create an NPC's fine. So yeah, I'm fine with everything.
All right, Kecker Dane's making his way to the Underdark.
Mm-hmm. He's already been in the Underdark. Oh, Kecker Dane. Oh yeah, he can make his way to the Underdark, no problem. Then you guys have
he
to
runs a
save
spa. Is that okay?
He does. Sure. Yeah. One of the other party's favorite characters is like a goofy innkeeper / magic shop / masseuse that the characters decided to visit one day. Someone really wanted a massage, and I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, the innkeeper also gives massages, and then it became a favorite character.
That's amazing. I have some charisma, but...
Okay. Oh, another thing I do. Because this game is so demon-centric, stereotypically, Arcana is like what you would use to know about demon stuff. I allow Arcana or religion, and I just color the information through whatever lens you are using. But you can still get important information because, as someone who has a religious upbringing, you probably would learn about demons because they are important from a religious perspective. So, it's not a big house rule, but it's something I do.
Noted. I'm sure we're going to run into a number of those. What about...
I don't think the campaign features demons heavily, so don't worry.
What about inspiration? Do you give it out willy-nilly? Do you, give it out for levels and then take it back like a ninja like Casey?
Inspiration is something I personally want to get better at. Simply because, I came from Pathfinder, GMing Pathfinder, and Pathfinder doesn't have inspiration, and I like the concept of inspiration. So I'm going to try to give it more. I would like to play with a system where you guys can give other people inspiration for things that they do that you think are cool or good. So basically, the way that will work is everyone will have one inspiration that they can pass out each game. But they can't give it to themselves. They can only give it to someone else. And it's one per game. So sort of like how, remember when Casey was nice and he gave us an inspiration every game, and then he was mean, and then he stopped doing that. It's like that, but it's not for you. You can give it to someone else for something you think that they did that was cool, or they were really in character and they did some good RP, or they got a super badass crit.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So that is how I'm going to do it. Basically, my philosophy as a GM is if there's something that I don't want to do or I'm not good at, I just make you guys do it. So since I'm not good at giving inspiration, I'll just make you guys do it. Oh, another thing. I keep remembering things, and I will continue to remember things forever, I'm sure. It might behoove us, not now, but in the coming weeks, once the game has started, for people to come up with backup characters. So that if you die, you can come and play. It's not a hint, but we've had to use a few. So I think it's a good practice to have. Obviously, they don't need to be super fleshed out, but something that stays with the level of the party, so that if you die, you can say, oh, I wanted to play this character, so I'll drop him in, and then we can work out a lot of the super specifics later. But that way, you're not out. If you guys don't like that, we can also, or what I may do if someone doesn't have a backup character ready, is there are a number of NPCs in this game, and you can just take over an NPC, which is also pretty easy.
How would you want us rolling stats again, or Mirror?
For backup NPCs, or for backup characters, yeah, it would be like a whole using the same character creation rules. And once you get to higher level, we'll worry about gear and stuff. But yeah, for that will be something we will do. I'm not going to give them to you now. I want you to focus on making your original characters. But as we get into the game, that is something we will probably do. But yeah, it doesn't need to be beyond a rough idea of like, I want to play a glamour bard.
So you just want us focusing on loving and cultivating our characters, like, you know, that have like a 1 out of 4 chance of dying.
Only for me to take them with the icy scythe of the Grim Reaper. Yes, that is exactly correct. I want you to love them so much, so that way when I take them from you, your pain fuels me. That is what I want. So, Casey and Athy. It seems like both of you are kind of done. Is that accurate?
I think so.
You busy bees, you.
Aside from, you know, now saying that we need a bard, and now I'm like, I was trying not to play a magical class.
You can don't. Hey, no one said you needed a bard.
No, I actually will.
We'll be fine.
I'm looking for any excuse to play a magical class because I really want to play a magical class.
Casey,
but I also look at what?
Casey, look at me. Casey,
I haven't had. Yeah.
Okay.
You look like a snowball.
Thank you. Play what you want.
That's the problem. I want to play what I don't want to play.
Casey, that's not how wanting something works.
You know, you'd say that, but a lot of my life has gone this way.
I've gotten away with it so far.
I haven't played just a straight up non-magical class in a long time, so I'm like, kind of want to do it. But then I'm like, look at all the shiny magic stuff. I'll just take it from them. I'll squeeze it out of them.
Yeah, just make an Eldritch Knight, and then you can take it. Or, you know, maybe make some deals with demons or devils. Also a possibility. We'll
get one to transmute another one, and then I can carry it around. My little pet. What could go wrong?
Kyle.
Yep.
Any idea about class?
About what?
Class.
Oh, God. Shut up, Sin.
Yes, Sid, shut it.
It's complicated.
It's been every single night. The books come to bed. Like, can't decide.
It's 4 14s and a 13. Like, what? How are you supposed to work with that?
You were like a kid in a candy store when you rolled that, though. You're like, oh my god, finally! I'm like, oh god, no.
All the things.
It's literally multi-class all of... Well, I'm not dumping con, so it won't be all of the things. Probably sorry, wizard, you're not getting multied. But I have a couple of concepts. I think a lot of the time spent in the Underdark could make some legitimate rage.
Yeah.
I also think to get through the Underdark and be passed from person to person, from mistress to mistress, from maybe a Druger? I don't know. Who knows who I've been sold to? I think that having like an extreme amount of self-discipline would also be one of the two ways to get through. So I'm looking at starting as a barbarian or as a monk. Because I think both of those have very different but still coping mechanisms to deal with this kind of life.
They do indeed. Well, I have a question for you. How edgy do you want to be?
Edgy?
We're in the Underdark. Yeah, how edgy? We're in the Underdark, so things are pretty edgy. So let that color your perception.
Well, I mean, like, I've been down here for pretty much the whole life, so like, of course I'm going to be edgy.
Right. I think the barbarian is the edgier choice in that instance. And that's not a statement upon the value of the class. It's just, it is kind of an edgier choice.
He's so edgy, he sharpens his shell.
Also, just a question for the group. How are we leaning vis-a-vis being nice or not so nice? We towards the good side? We towards the neutral side? Maybe a little towards the evil side?
Fuck you, fuck your NPCs. Not really. No.
You could do that. I don't care. That's your responsibility.
Nevermore is definitely on the good side of things.
Okay.
He looks like he fits in down there, but personality-wise, not so much.
Solidly on the chaotic good side.
Okay.
Yo ho!
Bang! Windmill.
What are you thinking, Kyle?
I mean, that's a lot of time to spend down and be jaded.
It is. It very much is. That is a reasonable response.
So, I mean, probably not good.
Okay.
I feel very confident in saying not good.
Okay. That's fair.
Beyond that, once it fleshes out.
And Sin, what sort of flavor of grave cleric are you thinking of? Are you the grave comes to take everyone, so I'm not gonna discriminate, or there's some people need more time, and I'm gonna help them with that. All right.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Nope. It comes for everybody, but I'll know whether or not it's your time. I'm probably gonna go neutral.
All right. I like that.
It's not for me to make the decisions or help either way. Well, for most people, anyway.
But I imagine you would also have issues with demons, given that their propensity for not allowing souls to pass on and instead consuming them. You're not really passing on to the next life if you're destroyed forever.
Yeah, I mean, I have a job to do. They're going to interrupt that job.
Oh, yes, very much so. Very much so.
So how often have you run this?
I am about to finish the first full playthrough. Probably playing Saturdays. I'm not playing this Saturday, either the Saturday after next, or maybe the one after that. Depends on how much they want to do afterwards and how much time they take deciding where to have the final confrontation. But basically, it's done. So I've run it through once. I have started it 2 other times. One fell apart because many of the group went off to, a lot of the group left college and we couldn't play anymore. And the other one is about to end simply because I was running it in the interim while our main GM was away. So I ran him through it for about 3 months, and it's gone differently every time. In ways that I think are good and interesting. The first group had a good plan, the long-term group, and they managed to get almost all of their stuff back. The group that's about to end had a terrible, terrible, terrible plan, and they were lucky to escape with the gear that they did escape with, or as many people as they escaped with. And they had a bit rougher of a go at it. But this game, sort of like Strahd, although it is not randomized as much as Strahd is depending on how you guys play it, can go very many different ways. And I am very much, I guess this is a good thing to bring up, as sort of my philosophy when it comes to GMing. I'm very much about making a world that feels believable, and like there are forces in it that have their own agendas and things they are doing, and they will react to what you do. So just because there is a written module here does not mean I am going to slavishly adhere to it. It's pretty open-ended anyway, but I'm still not going to slavishly adhere to it. And I will also add things to it as I see appropriate.
I guess that brings up another question that I had. I mean, we've had Kyle and I, you know, doing stuff. Casey's done stuff. Athy's going to eventually. What, so you've kind of gotten examples of our styles of doing things. If you had to describe your DM style, would you say, like, you know, hard ass, you know, I'm pretty lenient, and I don't even mean just like I'm gonna let your characters die. I just mean in general, like sticking to the rules. Are you a rule stickler, or are you like, oh, that was really cool, go ahead and try that?
I would say that I am, if 0 is the rules are meant to be broken, fuck them, I don't care, and 10 are, if it is not in the rule book, you can get bent, I'm never going to do it. I'm probably like a 6, maybe a 7 on a bed. I think the rules are there for a reason, but I am not above throwing them out or changing them in instances where I think it would be cooler or more interesting. And I try to do that fairly for everyone. But, you know, they are there for a reason, and I do like to adhere to them. But I'm also very much like, if there's a dispute about does it go X way or Y way, I'll just say what makes sense to me in the moment, and then we'll figure it out later. I'm not going to bog down the game with trying to figure out the exact proper ruling. But, you know, I would like to know the way it is supposed to go for the future. So on that, rules that way, I will endeavor to make the combat challenging but doable. Basically, which I know is like, that's what everyone strives for. But at the end of the day, I want you to look back and be like, I don't know how we're alive, but somehow we are. That's the kind of atmosphere I'm going for. And that means sometimes there will be instances where people will die because mistakes get. And that can also mean mistakes on my side as well. I will try to correct for mistakes on my side, but, you know, I'm just a guy. I'm not perfect, but I try to make it challenging. You know, the things that you are facing are not nice, and they are trying to kill you. I'm not going to kill you on the ground or anything like that. My goal is not to kill you, but there are things out there that are trying to, and they're not going to play dumb or be nice just because you're supposed to be the heroes.
Well, I mean, we're only level 1 now.
Right. But even if you're level 15, things won't always go. And that kind of goes for NPCs too. There are NPCs who will like you and will want to help you and do what you say. But there are a lot of NPCs who have their own agenda and, you know, things that they need to get done. And if it aligns with you, great. But if it doesn't, they're not above putting their agenda first. In whatever manner that takes.
I was going for a lame segue with that into how do you handle leveling with our characters? Are we going to have to beg for it like you do? Or
Good question. We are doing milestones.
Casey's just snickering. He spent most of this time just giggling.
That's funny. I'm also working on making an icon for my characters.
Yes. Yeah, give me small side. Give me art. I will give tokens.
Okay. I want the guy with the rainbow feathers that's in the chat.
Okay, oh my god.
And put it also put it on your character sheet as well. So you get pretty little pictures in there. But yes. So leveling will be milestones. So you can beg for it all you want. Doesn't mean you will get levels. And there are pretty definitive milestones in the book. There are chapters. And I know like what level you need to be by certain breakpoints. So basically, you'll do an arc, which is generally a location, and then you will get a level. So you'll probably get a level after the first session, and then you will get a level after like a big event that will probably happen fairly early on. This game is kind of slow at first, and it picks up towards the end, which is kind of the opposite of the way you would expect it to go. But it also kind of depends on how fast you guys go through things. It could be pretty quick. It all depends. Also, this game has like a lot of travel, like a lot. I will be skipping days. Basically, you guys will tell me what your plan is for traveling for the next week, and we might just skip a week because there's going to be a lot of wandering through the Underdark. And if we rolled random encounters the way they want us to, this game would be 70% random encounters. And random encounters are fun. I will put them in, but they will not be 4 times a day a chance for a random encounter. Because just to give you an idea, the closest place you are likely to go to is 8 days away, so not too bad. But then the next closest place is 20 days away, and then beyond that is another 20, and then 16, and then 24. Like, there are long periods of travel. So I will not be rolling 4 random encounters over 20 days.
Wait a sec. What do you mean 4 random encounters over 20 days? You get a random encounter every half an hour you travel. And it doubles if you're in the woods.
Whoa!
Come on now.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So we're not going to be doing that. There will be random things. There will be chances for things. I do like Casey's system of making you guys roll for random encounters. I like doing that. I am a big fan of that.
Yeah.
But it will not be every day because I just can't. I just cannot, because the interesting parts are at the locations, and travel can be interesting. And there are interesting things that will happen, but it is not, in my mind, it is not the draw, and it is not the things that are really the most interesting. So we'll be skipping portions of travel. I might say, okay, so 4 days later, you're walking along and X happens. Also, just so everyone knows, I have for foraging, which I assume someone will be doing as you travel, I have a giant random mushroom table, which I really like. You guys don't need to know that. I just want to brag about my giant random mushroom table. With all sorts of cool and weird mushrooms on it.
I don't know what that means.
So, okay. So in the Underdark, everything is fungus-based.
Myconids!
Oh yeah, there will be myconids. One of your, I'm going to tell you this. One of the NPCs in jail with you is a myconid.
Aw, myconids are so cool.
He's a stool. His name is Stool, and he should become your best friend because he is the thing that allows you to talk with other people. Because he has this ability called rapport spores, which is he shoots out spores, and then everyone within an area around him can speak telepathically.
What the hell? For how long?
Because the Underdark is weird.
For as long as Stool remains in the area, yeah.
Dude, that's ridiculous.
Oh, no, it's awesome. It's great. It's so good. Yeah, so
I guess it's also that.
Protect the mushroom.
Myconids are everybody's friends.
Stool is a common feature in many of my group's backpacks because he's small. He's like 1.5 feet tall and weighs like 20 pounds.
Oh, he's
so
a
they'll
sprout.
put him in a he's just a sprout. He's real young. So they put him in a backpack and they carry him around. And then when they encounter an NPC who doesn't have a common language, Spool shoots out some rapport spores and then they can talk to each other. He is your universal translator, to use a Star Trek reference.
He's a babblefish.
Yeah, he's the fish that goes in your ear. Come on.
Babblefish.
I wanted to use the Star Trek reference. Dune is not as cool.
Dune? No.
Dune, what?
Isn't Dune where the babblefish comes from?
No.
Oh, where does the babblefish come from?
Hitchhikers.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, never mind.
And several other, but
Hitchhikers.
Hitchhikers.
I've read all the Hitchhikers books, so I should have known that. I apologize for my shame.
Yeah, it's old. I'm super stoked. After much debate, it will be the dexterity base, so I will be flipping daggers around.
After much internal debate.
Oh no, it was all. There's a lot of voices in my head. They all weighed in.
See, Kyle, that is another reason that you have psychic communication by default. It's because you won't be weirded out when someone talks to you in your head. Because you told me that your thing was in the chat, and then it's not in the chat. You like?
Hang on.
It's in lobby.
But the one that landed out of the lobby chat.
Oh, in the lobby chat. Oh,
It's not the furry one.
I don't. Going down with the common folk.
Ah.
I need to make a new folder for this campaign.
As a gnome with excellent dark vision, I tend to dress without light. Therefore, my colors aren't really something I know about or choose.
Oh, that's fine. I'll be sure to point that out first, as soon as we get gear back. Because I'm pretty sure I'll be the only one who can't see in the dark. There's a reason why I've been passed around from mistress to mistress and I've never escaped.
I have it. Look at me. I'm so prepared.
Because you copied a folder and then retitled it slightly.
No, I meant that I copied the game and then retitled it slightly. I mean, they don't have Out of the Abyss as like a thing you can buy in Roll20, and I'm like, screw it. I have Out of the Abyss. I made it. So I just copied that game, and I'll just add things in.
Hear that, Roll20? Get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell him, Casey.
Yeah.
I guess another good question is when is this starting, Mr. Casey and Mr. Sean?
That depends on Strahd.
So I kind of threw some ideas around for the Strahd thing. I would like to get you guys up to at least whether you accept or decline the gracious dinner invitation, which you have been presented. And that's probably, assuming we don't just cut off for some reason, that's probably the next good break in the storyline. And I think you wanted to address some hag concerns that may have been lingering out there, which I think you've probably got a session and a quarter of a session dealing with your current situation of Blight Bonanza and the aftermath thereof. If you then go after the hags, depending on what planning you may or may not do, maybe a session or two, and then like the dinner and your formal dinners have gone really well, so I'm figuring maybe a session there. So
You're so good at that.
Yeah, we
5-ish?
Malik Darvin, Master Diplomats.
Master
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, we're gonna need to go ahead and speed that up because we gotta go talk to Rictavio too, guys. So I'm gonna go back to that fire idea and make that half a session to deal with the blights at most.
So you guys can accelerate as much as you wish. I have this section pretty well planned out, so we can move pretty quickly through it. But that's basically where I was figuring is you're probably in like 4 to 5 session, depending on your distraction level. And I will try not to bait you with, like,
No,
oh look,
you won't. No, you won't.
Be like, hey, that doll has a tag on it. That tag says, "No, it's fun. No, it's Blinsky." Like, Blinsky.
So Casey, you should be able to see and move around your token.
Ooh. I can see a token far away. Token.
Okay, so you will see that green border is not part of your token. Well, I mean it is, but it's not the outside of your token. If you take damage, that border changes.
You've got a colored border.
And if you get healed, it does that.